Everyone. Pleased to see everyone here this afternoon. My name's Margaret Mysick-Evans, and I'm the Secretary to the Police Services Board. And until the election of the chair, which is an annual event, I'll be chairing the meeting. So calling the meeting to order, we have all members present as well as the support. And the first order of business is actually to reappoint the secretary and the recording secretary. That's Ellen Preichat and myself. So we're looking for a motion to appoint those two positions for the coming year, please. Deputy Mayor Joe Piketty and Mark Gomes. And all in favor, please. Very good, thank you. That is carried. And now I'm going to call for nominations for the chair of the Tecumseh Police Services Board for the year 2021, and up to the first meeting of the board in 2022. Any nominations? Mayor McNamara?
Move Chris Hales.
Okay, and is there?
For chair?
For chair, yes. Mark Gomes is the seconder. And are there any additional nominations for chair? And then I have to call 3 times. Are there any additional nominations for chair? Okay. Seeing none, I would ask if the nomination is prepared to stand for the office. Okay.
I am.
Thank you. All right, very good. So I need a mover and a seconder then for resolution indicating that Chris Hales be appointed as chair of the Police Services Board for the town of Tecumseh for the period February 11th, 2021 to the date of the first meeting of the board in 2022. Do I have a mover? Mayor McNamara, and seconded by Mr. Mark Gomes. All in favor, please. Thank you. Very good. And Mr. Chair, I turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you very much, Margaret, and I appreciate that. We'll now take nominations for vice chair for our board. I'm looking for Mark, please.
I so move Paul Sweet to be our vice chair.
I'm looking for a seconder. Joe Piketty, thank you, Joe. I'll call for any other nominations. Going once. Any other nominations? Going twice. And any other nominations? Okay. Paul, would you stand or decline for the position?
I'll stand, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you didn't hesitate much longer. Okay, I would like a motion then that Paul Sweet be appointed as vice chair for the Police Services Board for the town of Tecumseh for the period of February 11th, 2021 to the date of the first meeting of the board in 2022. I'd like a mover, please. Mark Gomes, a seconder. Mayor McNamara. All in favor? So passed, thank you. We'll move on with our meeting then. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest with regard to the agenda as presented today? Seeing none, we'll move on. I'd like a motion that the agenda for the Police Services Board dated Thursday, February the 11th, 2021, as duplicated and delivered to the members thereof, be accepted. Looking for a mover. Mayor McNamara, did I see you? And seconded by Mark Gomes. All in favor? Thank you, it's passed. We'll move on. The approval of the previous minutes, I've read them. I'd like a motion that the regular minutes of the December 10th, 2020 Police Services Board meeting as duplicated and delivered to the members thereof be adopted. And I'd like a mover. Paul, and a seconder is Joe Piketty. All in favor? Thank you, passed. Delegations, there are none. Our monthly OPP report, and seeing that Jamie is can't carry the ball. Glenn, are you going to present? Yeah. As I said with Jamie, I would like you just to make sure you identify which reports you're going to refer to. And when you change pages, you let us know so that we can keep up with you, okay?
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And certainly Jamie sends his results. He's working outside of Essex County today, but I'm certainly very fortunate, or we are fortunate certainly, to have Sergeant Byron Hornick with us today, because he can perhaps provide some of the more intimate details or answer any of the questions that the board may ask, Mr. Chair. I'd like to just start off, if I may, just a little bit of a strategic overview that I like to do as to issues that are taking place. And actually, I just kind of received this information just a few minutes ago, actually, and it's just the amendments to the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act. I think it's something that we're familiar with, but at 11:59 p.m. on February the 9th, the provincial emergency did expire. All orders under the EMCPA will remain in effect until the date noted, unless they are revoked or further extended by that date. So I certainly appreciate the significant efforts by the town. There is a lot of emails I know that all the PSB board members and the CAO was getting, and the mayor and deputy mayor, regarding all of this. I just want to extend my sincere appreciation to the employees of the town, in particular in the area of bylaw enforcement, that are working with us. I know that the job is difficult. I know that it's been very long. We're almost like into a full year now, if not before. So please know that the great work that they are doing has not gone unnoticed by myself or other members of the OPP. So first of all, thank you very much. As you know, today is a National Day of Action, apparently across the country. So we've been actually doing situational reports to a regional operations center 4 times today. We still have 1 more to go, to be later on tonight, just in relation to that. And I just got an update that, at least from the information provided to me, we're very fortunate again to have so many of the residents and the businesses certainly abiding by the orders. And we appreciate this. We also understand the significant impact that it has had on everybody. We do appreciate your patience in all of this. So thank you very much. Also, just like to be able to speak a little bit about the fact that the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines has begun. While this is a relief to many, there are many financially, politically, and ideologically motivated individuals who may seek to profit from the diversion or disruption of the vaccine distribution. I'm unable to provide any detail for security reasons, but I want you to know that the Ontario Provincial Police and certainly members that are responsible for policing your town and throughout Essex County are involved in the distribution process of making sure that those vaccines are properly and safely getting to the locations within the county. And we look forward to certainly working with our various towns in relation to what our role may be in relation to making sure that everybody that wants those vaccines are safely given. So we don't have that information available to us right now. Direction certainly has to come from our executive leads on that. But again, thank you certainly to the town. I always want to talk about this only because so many of us continue to sit in front of computers. And I talk about kind of cyber-enabled crime. And I can talk, I'm going to jump ahead because I'm actually going to be speaking to the December report, Mr. Chair, but I'll speak a little bit forward, even going into January, where I have noticed, and we've noticed instances where residents are continue to become victimized by individuals that seek to profit from them. We get so many emails on our email sites all the time. It's very easy to go and click on something that we feel that looks familiar. However, just please, people, use extra caution and due diligence. Just be careful. If you do actually click on something and you are impacted or you've inadvertently gone and done something, I've said this before, please do not be embarrassed as to what you did. It's important that we know about it because in some cases we're able to, re-engineer perhaps what is taking place and even better, do our best to try to get your money back. But it is difficult because we're dealing with actors that are impacting us through various parts of the world. So I can tell you that from January the 20th until January the 14th of 2021, in the town of Tecumseh, we've had 84 such occurrences that have taken place where individuals have been impacted. It is certainly not the largest number of any of the areas that we do police, but nonetheless, I can tell you that it is certainly an impact to those individuals that have been defrauded out of amounts of money. And we continue to work with those individuals and continue to keep ourselves extremely victim focused and willing to provide the necessary supports for you in doing.
Inspector Miller, just if I might, this is very good because, as you know, there are people listening in. We hope there are people listening into our Police Services Board meeting. So if this helps get the word out to the general public, we're certainly grateful for that.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. And I certainly do appreciate it. We know that a lot of people do listen to these Police Service Board meetings. So we're fortunate that because it gives us an opportunity, or certainly myself, to be able to provide a little bit of feedback to the residents. Again, in order to be successful at policing, we are only successful because of the partnerships and relationships that we have with all of you. And we support that. We certainly need you in order to do our job. And obviously we're doing a good job as recognized often by the mayor in being able to be one of the safest communities within Canada. One of the concerns that we face, however, as a growing community is the instances of opioid overdoses and drug use, particularly in the area of methamphetamine. These are extremely dangerous drugs. Sadly, a day does not go by for us within your community that we're not being made aware of particular circumstances that are happening. I can tell you that members of that patrol your town actually have saved lives as well. And that's by knowing and the training that we have, being able to respond very quickly to a situation. And we encourage people under the Good Samaritan Act to call the police immediately. That's a 911 call if there is an overdose. And certainly the EMS and fire and services will be triaged as well. And we're going to do our very best to ensure that those individuals are taken to the proper location in order to get some assistance. So
200 lives, 200 lives saved across the province of Ontario was just published by the OPP.
Yes, and we don't break it down too much. I can tell you that within the last 5 days, within your area, the OPP members have saved lives as well of your community. Mm-hmm. So I'll just kind of close at that. Just keep people reminded that we continue to remain intelligence-led and victim-focused in our approach. And one of the best components that we have really, again, is our partnerships and relationships with all members of the community that continue to support us. So thank you very much. So I'm not sure if there's any questions that either Byron or myself can answer that you'd like to ask, or if you would like just for me to start then into the monthly report.
I had one question with regard to what you said. Do we take it by inference that the Ontario Provincial Police will be charged with or given the responsibility of safeguarding the shipment of the vaccines within the county to the distribution, from the distribution centers to the places where the vaccines will be given out?
Certainly in part, and we've been doing that for probably over a month now. And we're going to those locations where they're arriving in from the country, and then safely, usually under the cover of darkness, they're being taken to where they need to be. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Sean, if you could maybe bring up the December Police Service Board monthly overview. It has the colored, yeah, bingo.
I think just before that, I think the Vice Chair had a question that he wanted to bring up, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the inspector, I was just curious in relation to the COVID vaccine rollout and security by the OPP, but There's been media across the province in dealing with issues surrounding the vaccination. I'm just wondering if, as it rules out, Inspector, if there was a fraudulent use of the vaccine, especially in the paperwork and that, could that lend itself as a cautionary note? Could that lend itself to criminal charges, in your opinion?
Oh, yeah, most certainly. Yeah, the manipulation or the theft or the diversion of any of those. I mean, they are vaccines that are paid for, that I understand, by the government. So I guess basically it's all of us that are paying for that. So if that's a diversion of funds for whatever its intended reason, then that's investigated criminally.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just on that, and it's a very strict protocol in terms of the phase 1, 2, and 3, who gets it. In Ottawa right now, there's an issue in Ottawa where actually a long-term care facility CEO was lost his job, where he was vaccinating his wife instead of long-term care people, and so it's a very strict regimen, and every shot is reconciled. And there's a COVAX program where anybody and everybody who receives it is then filed into the province or each individual province and so forth. Very strictly monitored, no doubt. And as the inspector alluded to, it's liquid gold. It's a critical piece. And the good news is you're going to be a lot busier, Inspector, and you're starting next week. I've just got off with the Minister Anand federally, and we'll be starting next week. Pfizer will be delivering 400,000 doses every week for the next 2 weeks. So that's 800,000 doses in Canada, and about half of that comes to Ontario. And beyond that, 475,000 doses a week continuous. Moderna, 178,000 doses coming in a week's time, and they're ramping up now since they got their production. And we're very shortly, it looks like AstraZeneca will be approved, and they're expecting at some point in time the first shipment of AstraZeneca will be about 1.2 million doses. So you'll be busy.
Are there any other comments before we go to the report? I must say I was remiss in missing Paul's hand there. So if not, maybe Sean, now you could put the, post it up. Thank you so much. No,
Yeah, if we could just go to page 4, please. Yeah, just the top calls for service. So yeah, you just kind of went by it. So just scroll down a little bit, please. There we go. Yep. Just to Tecumseh.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. That's great. Is it okay to proceed, Mr. Hales? Okay. So again, I'll have Byron, if Byron may have a point to make, or he can answer any of the questions that you may have. So, one of the things that we try to do is just try to identify the top 10 calls for service, kind of what's keeping us busy within the town. And in the area of kind of traffic complaints, what we're doing is the officers, when they're getting a call for service, or when they're hearing of information or a complaint from a resident, they're actually, that's all being documented and it's properly being logged now. And we're making responses to all of those wherever they happen to may be. So that's why you see the number of instances that are going up. I don't see that as being a bad thing. I see that as being a good engagement, certainly from the community members that are notifying us of areas of concern and where they would like our officers to spend a little bit of extra attention. And that helps to identify for us also maybe some best practices and where we need to be at different times. So being an analytically driven organization, we certainly collect lots of data, and I'm looking forward. I know the CAO has had a report authored for her, and that's certainly a great report. We look forward to kind of talking about that at the end. Again, alarm calls. I see the number of alarm calls are up. And generally, that's not the case a lot, certainly for the town of Tecumseh. However, what we're seeing is people are home now, and whether the alarms are being set when they're inside the home or just from panic alarms going off, that and in businesses, we certainly tend to be getting a lot of those calls as well. And that's certainly keeping us busy. Motor vehicle collisions, certainly at 26, fortunately no serious PIs or fatal collisions. We're certainly fortunate in that particular area. And certainly not all of them are necessarily related to intersections either. So some are very minor in nature, however, they are reported and they are investigated. The thefts that we're having, you can see that we're not having any violent crimes. The thefts are generally thefts of opportunity. And they continue because we continue to have a lot of individuals that are traveling from other jurisdictions coming into your area at various times, day and night, and simply taking advantage, unfortunately, of what's available to them and making and doing those theft. You know, the misdials are down, certainly. Family disputes, that's probably not surprising for us as well. We certainly see an instance of those taking place right across the board. Generally, the concerns or the issues are kind of minor in nature, and I'm not sure why sometimes it's necessary to contact the police if there's an instance that is not of a violent nature, because generally our officers simply to have a discussion with a young person, we don't mind doing that, but there's a lot of times where a parent could kind of step into that situation and probably have the same conversation, and maybe it's just the approach, I suppose, but we continue to do that, and we'll continue to answer every one of those particular calls for sure. So I'll just maybe turn to page 5, and on page 5, you see it right across.
Before you go, Mr. Chair, just to Inspector, when you, I looked at that column, the ride programs, the number 12, was that where there was 12 impairs in the community at that particular time?
No, I think, is that Sergeant Byron, is that where we've initiated 12 rides?
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was going to have a coordinator here. That'd be an awful rise, wouldn't it?
Right.
Okay, so thank you for that.
Sure. So just going to page 5 under calls for service, you see a little bit of a deduction, around a 25% deduction rate across the board. So you can see kind of the variables that we have on the top right corner. That's right across the county. But let's look specifically at the town of Tecumseh. And again, the numbers are dropping. I would certainly say significantly. I don't expect that to be low for that much longer as things kind of start to open up and people have the ability to travel about and in order to go do different things. So it allows the officers, certainly if the calls for service are low, it allows the officers to implement our various proactive strategies, certainly within the community as well, and maintaining that visibility, which we certainly know is important. On page 6, please. Yeah, violent crimes. So when we talk about violent crimes, we're talking there about domestic violence and assaults that are taking place. And again, a majority of them are taking place, sadly, within people's residences. A lot of these particular calls for service are repeat, continue to return to the same location, deal with the same situation, often process the individual, and we're required in most cases to release that individual again. And sometimes within 24 hours, we're back dealing with them. So it's a bit of a societal issue. It's not just in Tecumseh, it's kind of all over. But again, we really don't have that violent crime in the town. So we're very fortunate for that. Property crime. You probably noticed a little bit of an increase, certainly in the month of December. People are starting to move around a little bit, I suppose, just in the busyness of Christmas time. And unfortunately, a lot of those particular instances just reference vehicles not being properly secured. In some cases, the property that is stolen the victims are not able to properly identify kind of what that is. We do recover a lot of the items for sure. And sometimes the items are recovered as a result of search warrants that we are executing, the officers are executing within other jurisdictions, not just certainly within the town of Tecumseh. Page 7, please. Again, just as the comparables, you just kind of look, you know, the month of December, what wasn't significant, certainly in the terms of weather. And I just I just finished reading a report and I found it very interesting. You know, when we look at collisions, we're more likely to have a collision and we're more likely to have a fatal collision, believe it or not, or personal injury collision on a day that is clear, the roads are dry, and it's daylight. So on your best days, we don't have those serious collisions when the roads are in bad conditions. Generally, we don't. And we've done a real detailed analysis of that kind of taking place. So we know that probably Sundays and Mondays would be our highest instances of serious personal injury collisions that are taking place, or fatal collisions. I know that last year in September and again in October, we did have 2 fatal collisions. One involved a motorcycle and a vehicle. And then we had another involving 2 motor vehicles where there was a fatal. And again, the parameters around that, we just collect all that information as we have to as part of our investigation. So the officers are pretty good at a little bit of predictive analysis. They know that particularly maybe, for instance, on a day like today, which I haven't been outside since early this morning, is generally not too bad. We're usually, believe it or not, impacted sometimes a little bit more by those type of collisions taking place. So whether it's complacency, I'm not really sure, but that's just kind of a little bit of the fact behind some of those particular instances. On page 8, dealing with impaired drivers. And again, you know, I'm not going to say that there isn't any impaired drivers. We certainly have impaired drivers within the county, but often by the time that we could maybe perhaps be advised in order to get set up and that those individuals have maybe crossed through that area, that information is obviously passed along. So whether it's going from east to west or whatever, we're generally able to interdict those particular individuals. And you can certainly see that in the number of driving suspensions that we do issue to various people. We're finding certainly a lot. I can talk kind of more generally because you're fortunate you don't have those particular statistics with the impaired drivers being apprehended, certainly within the town. We're having a high incidence of individuals under the influence of drugs now that are operating motor vehicles. We didn't see that for a while because I think that the chair asked me that question several months ago. We didn't see it. I can tell you that we are seeing it now. And I think that you're probably reading some of the media releases and some actually are very, very concerning and very disturbing to us. Things that we're happening to see, particularly when there's other than just the driver in the vehicle. So you'll see that we continue to issue suspensions, and I think the month of December there was a couple that was issued to drivers as well. Criminal code charges on page 9, certainly a decrease. Again, it's quieter. I mean, it's just a little bit quieter. People are more confined to what they're having to do. So some of the charges may be a result of an investigation that has taken several weeks or several months and has culminated as us laying that particular charge. So that's where you would see it. But again, I think it speaks to kind of like the non-violent nature of what is not taking place within the town. So that's certainly a good story. And again, in the area of drugs, drugs certainly is prevalent for sure. Are we aware of those particular issues that are taking place? We are. Within your particular town, and they certainly are. We have to collect the intelligence on that, and in a lot of the cases, what we're able to do, just because of the vast resources that we employ in these type of investigations, we're able to actually interdict some of those individuals that may be traveling to your area. So that particular stat is not captured there but it's preventing some of those drugs from getting into those particular into the particular towns or town of Tecumseh. I do encourage members of the community. I know that people see a lot of different things. We continue to encourage you to contact us, and we can certainly be contacted anonymously. You can certainly deal through Crime Stoppers. By doing that, you're helping to help your community to continue to remain safe. And you know, by interdicting those drugs and getting those drugs off the street, we're helping to change the behavior, the side of behavior of a lot of people, and that's really important. Charges, the officers continue to lay charges on page 10 under the provincial offenses. Again, the month of December, we're still doing those interdictions, still laying those charges, continuing to still do traffic stops, which is really important. Please understand that the officers do articulate the grounds when they are stopping people. And I know there was a lot of information out in relation to COVID-19 and the Reopening Act, whether police could arbitrarily stop somebody to ask them kind of where they're going and, are they an essential worker? The OPP does not do that. The police do not do that. We don't have the authority to go and do that. If a person's being stopped, then they're being stopped probably for a reason under the highway traffic for something else. So everybody felt that we're going to be stopping cars. We're going to be knocking on people's doors, particularly during the lockdown order, to make sure that people are staying home. And no, the answer is not that. We're not allowed to do that. We have a lot of laws that we have to follow in the rights of people, and that's what we do. And I think your community is well versed, is very intelligent on that. But I did want to put that out, Mr. Chair.
Well, I think that's important. And if we look at Mr. Justice Touk's report with regard to stop and carding, et cetera, I think that ground has been well covered.
Yes, it has. Yeah, just dealing on page 11, and this is an area that, Byron Hornick has a lot of expertise. And just as a reminder, maybe not a reminder for the board because they know this, but certainly for the individuals that are listening, Byron Hornick was instrumental. It was he that really helped to create the vision for our mental health response unit that's being replicated now, not only across Ontario, but across Canada as well. And we continue to get phone calls from the ministry people on exactly kind of the model that we have in place. So Sergeant Hornick, would you just like to speak maybe to page 11, mental health response, just in relation to Tecumseh and what our officers are doing for the members of the community there?
Well, thank you through the chair. Clearly, our calls for service have gone up. I'm likely due primarily because a lot of people are at home together now, which isn't always ideal. There's no way of getting out and potentially, healthy distractions from that. So we do see a lot of calls for service. We are getting a lot of mental health act calls. We also have other units that are now engaged as well. 2 more new units, one who deal primarily with the youth, and then another quick response unit in tandem with our mental health response unit. So we do have a lot of resources out into the community, and as such, clearly, that will also lead to higher numbers of responses. So the more people you have out there working, then the more calls for service that they'll generate, which is it's a positive thing. There's nothing wrong with seeing numbers like that, especially when we know that we have the ability to respond to them.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, thanks very much, Byron. And I can also tell you that today we had a TV crew that was traveling with one of our officers in the Tecumseh area. It's from Heavy Rescue. I think you've seen that particular TV show. And they're kind of getting a day in the life of what it's like and what we're facing. And I know actually the officer ended up having to break away because I believe that there was that type of call that was occurring. So for purposes of confidentiality, we don't want that to be captured by anyone, but it certainly kind of highlighted certainly to the film crew that was with us, kind of the realities of what the officer are facing every day. And I would say that there's not an officer working today in Tecumseh that is probably within the last 24 hours that has not responded to a mental health response call. So we're really glad that it's working. It's helping people. It's getting them to where they need to be, and letting them know that they're a very valuable part of our community as well. Unfortunately, they have various struggles. So we want to be able to work with them and the wonderful community groups that your town supports in helping those people to realize a life, a good life, right? One that they perhaps thought that they couldn't enjoy. So it's not the story for everyone, but unfortunately, it's a story for a lot more than it used to be over the years. And again, you know, the town of Tecumseh Police Service Board in the town, they had our back when we started this, and it was not an easy movement at all. In order to move something new into implementing it the way that we did within a large organization, it was tough, but it was certainly worth it. We wouldn't have been able to do it without the support of the PSB, your Tecumseh PSB. Another one I'd like to talk about, and I'm sure that the mayor or the chair may comment, and other members of the board, it was really through the town of Tecumseh that this issue on the 911 misdials was brought to the attention provincially in order for the OPP to develop another way of managing those particular calls, which were just absolutely exorbitant. We were dealing with thousands and thousands of those calls. And a lot of them were simply just misdials. That's what I'm saying. I want to just assure everybody that is listening, it is important to call 911 if there's an emergency. We will respond. That call will be responded to. But as you can see in a lot of the cases, so we'll look at the town of Tecumseh for 2020, we responded to 14 as opposed to 117. That's a huge, forget about the financial savings. And I know that is part of it. Take that right off the table, because that was never an issue for the town. What it was is making sure that our officers are available, doing some of those more high priority calls that do come in, and being where they need to be in order to mitigate crime and to get people to conform to the laws, certainly within the community. And it's allowed us to go and do that. Yes, and of course, it's ultimately going to save a lot of money as well, right across the board. So I'll just leave that comment. If somebody else wants to say something, that's fine. Again, you've seen false alarms, a bit of a decrease certainly across. So you see those numbers kind of illustrated. Going down here quickly, rides are really important certainly in the month of December. More the festive season, it's important to do that. We do get money. The town has allotted money for that, so we take advantage of the rides, but I can assure you that certainly people such as Byron and Jamie Smith and the other supervisors that work in that area, to me, ride time is any time. We'll continue to be operating rides throughout the year at various times. It also provides an opportunity for us to at least make some sort of a contact with the public, as awkward as it may be, and we have to be respectful to them as well. We do keep our distance. If you've been stopped by members of the OPP, you'll see exactly kind of the operational stance that they take when they have that discussion with you. But it is important, because we do have individuals, unfortunately, that we are still capturing going through rides that are impaired. Which I guess nothing surprises anymore. If nothing else, it's very disappointing. Our auxiliaries, we're fortunate that we had in the month of December, we had 20 hours committed within the town, and that's great. And then shortly after that, in the month of January, we've had to stand them down again for just purposes of safety, just because of the lockdown right now. So they are very eager to get back and start working within your community. We're very eager to welcome them back. But if you see, and actually I just approved the January report that you'll be getting probably shortly. You maybe probably see a reduction in those number of hours, but they've stood that down across the province. We want to make sure that those individuals who are volunteering their time, many are residents of your particular town that work with us, and we're very fortunate to have such an amazing group of auxiliaries. We have the highest number of auxiliaries of any detachment in the OPP right across the province within Essex County. and we need them. So you can see just under notable investigations, I'm not going to read that to you. I think you probably had an opportunity to read it. It's just a little bit of a snapshot up to different things that go on. We could probably actually fill that page. What we may not deem notable, only because of the frequency, we realize that other people may find it notable. So we hope that we do capture something. There's nothing significant about those instances other than kind of maybe how we follow through an investigation and the route that people will take when they go to steal something to try to disguise it. And we get a number of alerts that go out all the time. So when the officers are frequenting different locations and businesses, or certainly executing search warrants, they're always on the lookout for things that have been taken from your particular area as well. So that's an overview. I hope I didn't rush things, and I hope if there's any questions that you would like to ask myself or Byron, I'll leave it up to the chair.
Oh, we'll open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions with regard to the content? I would like to ask Glenn a simple question that it's not to do with this report, but it's sort of allied, because statistically we're lining up all the different municipalities which you have contracts with at the present time. We know that the Caldwell First Nations have now amassed some land, and they will be probably creating a reserve. And under the new Police Service Act, they will become part of a police service board. I wonder, have they reached out to you to talk about the rights of their reserve and what they would like to see with regard to policing, or is that still a long way off?
No, not at all. Actually, probably for the last year, we've been involved in discussions with them, and we will. It is their wish that the OPP provide policing for them. It would be under the terms of, I'll use like the 5.1 type of contract or whatever. But they've been actually wonderful. So we're getting everything mapped, geo-mapped. So the officers, all that data is able to go into our computer systems and for our officers. But yeah, we've been talking with them and kind of listening to kind of their expectations, and our Municipal Policing Bureau and our First Nations Policing Bureau as well is in dialogue. And I'm glad you asked that question. I haven't been asked that by anybody else, but they are talking with us, and we'll be working hand in hand with them. So that'll just be another component to what we'll be doing.
Well, I find it's important because we are going to be tasked with creating a detachment-based police service board. And the new act is identifying that, you know, the First Nations reserve, if they have a band council, a band policing, or it's an Ontario Provincial Police contract policing. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity that when we do start talking about creating a detachment-based board, that we invite them to the discussion, and that there will be a recognized individual entity, you know. I don't know what their status would be with regard to whether they would be looked at as a municipality. I think not. I think it's probably a federal thing. It's the reserve. But I think it'll be important that they get recognized, and their statistics will be held up as part of what's going on in Essex County. So it's just, I guess, a natural progression of the new act.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, I'm not sure if you know any of the individuals on the band council. You know, conceivably, maybe they're listening to this particular PSB. I'm not really sure. We do have a lot of engagement with them on a lot of different issues kind of around this. They're very focused on wanting to get it right and kind of working with us and us understanding their expectations, and certainly the expectations that we have as well. So, you know, maybe part of your networking and partnership component that you may reach out to them sometime and invite them to maybe listen into one of these police service boards for those ones that haven't taken part, just to kind of get to meet some people and kind of listen to what's happening.
Well, that would be excellent. And the other thing is, of course, we still need to meet again all the contract municipalities, and you know, and start the ball rolling towards a detachment-based police service board. And I believe they need to be invited. They need to understand that, you know, that under the act, that they're going to be identified as a community that requires a police service board.
Yeah,
there any-
most definitely.
Yeah, good. Any other questions, comments?
Just on that point, Mr. Chair, as well, is that, and Margaret, I think Margaret signed up, or, but I'll have a drink of water here. I'm not sure as well on the community safety plan, that the regional one are being developed as well, as if, again, on that particular piece, which is going to be part of, you know,
Yeah.
the issue, if maybe we should be extending them an invitation, because I know they'll be doing some consultation shortly with all the municipalities and that, but I didn't see anything there on them, or if they're completely separate from us. I'm not sure, but maybe a courtesy opportunity with certainly the administrative folks that are delivering on the plan.
Margaret.
Through the chair, a good point raised by the mayor, and the First Nations representatives are on the list of consultees that the team has put together through Leo Gill. So that's been top of mind.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's excellent. And as we know, under the new Police Services Act, that our boards are mandated or required to reflect the municipalities which we represent. So, you know, we have to look at all the diversity within our community, and certainly having the Caldwells on a amalgamated board, a detachment-based board, will go, you know, that will check off that one to make sure that we're engaging all our citizens in our area. So that's excellent. Any other questions, comments? All right, then.
Just on
please.
the amalgamated boards and that, maybe Margaret, if maybe I should have brought that up earlier too, is that at the Roma conference, I did have I was on a panel and with not superintendent, but the inspector from Oxford County and Hoyer, Inspector Hoyer, and also a member of the Solicitor General's office. And it was a very, very well attended panel. And I know that Deputy Mayor Bichetti was also as a delegate was listening in. Is maybe we could share my remarks to members of the board, and maybe a copy should go to the inspector as well.
Yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
Any other comments? Well, then I'm looking for a motion that the OPP report for the month of November, December be received. Moved by Mayor McNamara, seconded by Paul Sweet. All in favor? Passed. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We'll move on to item I in our agenda, and that would be reports. Report to council that we're receiving with regard to a 2020 radar speed survey. I've read it. I don't know if there's anybody that has any comment. They wanted to bring something up. I found some of the speeds on some of the streets that I'm familiar with astoundingly low, but everybody was on their best behavior, I guess. So yes, there you go. So, you know, obviously I sit on Brighton Road myself, but it's good. This goes, I guess, a long way towards speaking to council with regard to the complaints with regard to traffic and speeding. So I'm glad that this was presented to council, because individual councils are being tagged by our citizens asking, you know, asking about policing on speed and on noise, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a good this is a concrete first step, I guess. Paul, please.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was just it'd be curious to know and see is what the if the sign was used in comparison with the actual sign off, just recording speeds, not flashing, what the results would be?
I don't think we have the kick to, Margaret, do we have even the ability to turn that sign off? I mean, when we're recording speed?
Well, we have two different types of recording device, Mr. Chair. So we have the typical one that does flash. It's on a trailer beside the side of the road, and then we have two black cat boxes that are pole mounted and not readily apparent to the driver. And so actually I can answer that question, Mr. Vice Chair, because that was raised at council.
Yeah.
And there was no significant difference between whether it was a visible sign that people could see their speed or whether it was using the other monitoring device.
Thank you. That's interesting.
Okay. Any other comments on that report?
Well, I think it's important too, and it's great information for our officers that they can now, instead of chasing the phantom speeders, they can now target the areas that have been shown as areas where speeding does occur. And so they can put their attention right in those areas and then until they move out of the area. But I think it was done over a long period of time.
Well, and politically, when we had our report to council, we spoke about traffic, we spoke about noise, we spoke about speeding.
Yep.
And council wanted to, with regard to the citizen satisfaction survey. So I'm glad that this formal report did go to council and that now each of our individual councilors have something to show the citizenry if they have questions as to what we're doing, what's going on. So that's, I'm very pleased about that. And then it was done by the town. So if there are no other comments, I need a motion that report be received. Moved by Mark, seconded by Paul. All in favor? Thank you. Passed. Communications action required. Item J, there is none. Communications for information purposes. We have several. We have a letter from myself going out to our association with regard to our not going to participate in a face-to-face annual general meeting or spring conference. And even as I think we were crossing in midstream, they thought better of it. And they said that it would be an online conference. Going to be a very interesting logistics because our conferences are pretty huge. So I don't know how that's going to happen, but I suspect that with AMO and having trod that ground, there'll be lots of technology available to our association to put that off. Solicitor General's letter for the new deadline for municipalities to adopt the community safety and well-being plan. That also went along with, I think, a report from the city, and I think we're going to deal with that a little bit later. So I don't know if we need to take any discussion on that. I would like to speak to item 3. The Solicitor General sent an interesting letter out with regard to organizational changes and with regard to municipal policing services advisors. We had an offline, Margaret, before the meeting started, discussion. Ellen was part of it. As you know, we lost our service advisor, Zone 6 services advisor, and he was transferred, I believe, to Zone 1A, which is about as far north in Ontario as you could get. And Ellen cannot remember. I cannot remember.
What did he do wrong?
Say again.
I said, what did he do wrong?
Well, okay. So Ellen couldn't remember hearing of a name of a replacement. I certainly couldn't. Paul remembers the discussion. Paul, did you remember a name of a replacement?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I actually sent you a message there. I was able to, our service advisor is Mr. Dave Tilley, and I sent Ellen an email with his contact information, so she could distribute to the board.
Now, did you do just some Googling research, or?
No, surprisingly enough, I still have the odd friend at the ministry, so I just reached out.
All a few
So
months.
it's always good to be an ex-police chief. Well, that's good, Margaret, then you're off the hook. We're going to ask you to send a little note off to the Solicitor General and say, who's our service advisor? But perhaps what we want to do is maybe reach out to the service advisor and ask him if he has anything he'd like to tell us at one of our meetings. He could come in as a delegation. Perhaps you're not off hook, Margaret. Am I off base? I don't think so. I mean, it may just be an introduction so we can see what he looks like. And the service advisors tend to be mostly involved with the police chiefs, because they are doing audits of the different police services, etc. But still, his obligation is to advise all the police service boards as well. So perhaps it would be a good idea for us to meet this gentleman. Any comment on that, or
No,
your worship?
not on that in particular, but maybe Margaret, in terms of the discussions we had at council as well, is on the timing. Also, 2 points for the inclusion of members of Police Services Board to be part of the consultation piece moving forward on the community safety plan. And the other piece of it as well is that this seems to be the going concern across the province, is that the timing that the Solicitor General, the implementation in July of 21, because of COVID and all the other issues that we've had to be faced with and so forth, it's become problematic to be able to put that, a proper report forward at that time. So there was an ask of an extension to 2022 January, and so I don't know if it'd be appropriate even here as well, to the point of knowing who our zone rep is, to send a message to the province, but certainly indication from us to our Police Services Board Association to see what the interest is on the other Police Services Board as well, and supporting the municipalities in terms of extending that date that this SolGen has brought forward.
Your worship, if I could just interject, under old business item 2, we wanted to speak about that with regard to an attempt that was made to bring together all the police service board chairs as well as whoever else was interested to speak with regard to the community safety and well-being plan. It was headed by Francis Canet, being supported by Inspector Miller, and we were gung-ho to be part of it, and Lakeshore was, but we didn't get much other feedback from Kingsville, Leamington, or Essex, so it kind of fell by the wayside. And part of the discussion I thought we would have under the old business was, does anybody know if that is going to be picked up? Will the police service boards be getting together? And so certainly we can address it at that point as well, if you'd like to.
Well, I mean, we're into it in terms of this piece here. I'm looking at the information that's in here, but I'm willing to deal with it then or now. It doesn't matter. But I think Margaret, you might have something.
Yeah, my understanding is Margaret wanted to speak on that one item with regard to the public consultations. Am I correct, Margaret? Well, maybe then once you're done your presentation, that might be a little clearer, and then we can ask the questions which are pertinent to the police service board. How's about that? That'd be okay?
Fine by me.
Paul, you had a comment?
Yeah, just going back to the advisor situation there, seeing that they have created an entire new division within the Ministry of the Solicitor General.
Yeah,
I think inviting an advisor, maybe if nothing else, just to come and explain, how does that affect the services, or is their service changed, or what's, give us an update on this new division in the ministry, what we can expect or not expect from them.
Yeah, that whole service was jumped ministries. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, then we'll continue this a little later. So let's, what I'm looking for then is a motion that this correspondence be received. Looking for a mover, Joe, and seconded by Gary McNamara. All in favor? Thank you, passed. All right, under item L, old business, the OPP contract renewal. And Margaret, I think you're going to report on that.
Yes, and it's very brief, Mr. Chair. The renewal is done and submitted to the ministry, signed and sealed up for good for another 3 years, or the new legislation coming into effect, whichever comes first.
Yeah, right. So Glenn, you can buy your groceries. You're back in business. Item number 2, Margaret, is there any other comments with regard? I mean, we beat that contract stuff pretty good, you know, so. Okay, let's move on then. Community safety and well-being plan and public consultation. Certainly the report to council, the city of Windsor, as well as has some documentation, as well as our CAO. So Margaret, would you like to maybe lead that off as to where we are with regard to the new timeline?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. So the report to council was appended, and as to your point, the City of Windsor report was appended to our report to council. And essentially, they cover the same thing and what's been discussed here in part already. The deadline originally was January 1st, 2021. When the pandemic hit, that was put off, but a new deadline wasn't imposed until recently in December, when the Solicitor General issued a deadline of July 1st of 2021. And many organizations, including our own here in Windsor, Essex, were working on an assumed deadline, new deadline of January 1st, 2022. And because we have designed our whole program around that, we've decided to continue on with that. And there has been, to the mayor's point, several overtures by different bodies to support that at the political level. And so the intent is to complete our planning process over the course of 2021, have the final product ready for the Solicitor General at the end of this year, beginning of next, and do an interim report out in July in time for the minister's deadline. That will be communicated from the roundtable that's working on the community safety and wellbeing plan here in Windsor, Essex. And I think it's a fairly common approach that's being taken across several jurisdictions. The only thing that turns on it, I might add, in the legislation is that if you miss the deadline, essentially the minister could step in and appoint somebody to undertake the community safety and wellbeing plan on your behalf. So there's very low risk associated with our strategy, because it's pointless for the minister to come in and appoint somebody else when the work is well underway and in hand. So further to that, and the next step is going to be public consultation. The report sets out a schedule of virtual town halls that are going to be conducted in every municipality over the course of the balance of February and into March, with the town of Tecumseh being on Saturday, February 27th, 2021, from 11 a.m. until, 10 a.m., 10 a.m. to 11:30. And the concurrent with that is going to be a survey that will be available online to anyone who wishes to undertake a survey. And that will be live from February 10th to about the middle of March. Mid-March, so that people can weigh in using both of those opportunities. It's important to note that both the municipal council as well as the police service boards will be given an opportunity for tailor-made consultation, and those are being planned now, and we should be seeing invitations coming in before the end of February for those consultations to be undertaken in probably April or May of this year. So I think, they're ready to roll. They do have a very exhaustive list of contacts that they're trying to recruit feedback from and input from. And our communications staff at the town is engaged in promoting those opportunities for consultation and engagement through our website and our social media platforms to try and encourage people to get involved. I think that's
Excellent. Yeah, excellent.
Take questions.
So then what I glean out of that is we don't have to rely on what the Lakeshore Police Service Board was trying to do, is to pull together people kind of ad hoc. This will be a formal process through the actual community safety and well-being plan working group.
It will be. However, it will be, I don't think that they're going to pull you all together, sort of in one session. But I'm not sure because I haven't seen the specifics on that yet.
Okay. Your worship, I saw your hand come up.
Just logistics alone, I think, Margaret, you probably have a better handle on it in terms of the numbers and that. But in the presentation that we had at the county, when they looked at the complexity of the stakeholders that are involved in this whole group, it's like it was 100 and some odd groups, and I mean it's really comprehensive in that regard. I'm wondering if we have a copy of that presentation that was made to county council and council on the what we were at in terms of what I mean, it's a public document. I'm wondering if we could get a hold of that from Mary at the county, and then extend that to obviously our members of our board, just to see really how complex this thing is, and the timing of why it's so critical. And those many of those groups that are involved in the building of this document are also knee deep in COVID, in dealing with that. So, and I think it would give them an opportunity also to, when time comes when either you fill the survey up or be part of the consultation piece, you kind of have an idea in terms of the framework of the community safety plan.
Paul, I saw your hand go up.
Through you, Chair, to the CAO, and just to follow up on the mayor's comments, thank you, Margaret, for supplying that GIS mapping of the thing. That was absolutely stunning. I mean, it kind of drove in my mind trying to coordinate all those service agencies that the county is. That really brought it home. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
My comment with regard to the deadline, Your Worship, I imagine with your contacts at AMO, I can't believe that Windsor Essex County would be the only people who were upset by that date. No, okay, yeah. So I think the Solicitor General, I've listened to her speak. I think she's a pretty knowledgeable lady, and I suspect that when she sees the grumbling from all corners of the province, she's going to have a little think about that deadline, probably. Especially when she sees the size of the amount of work that's already been put in by our local boards, and to say we just can't complete it. There's just so much of it, So that's I think that'll probably resolve itself. Are there any other comments with regard to the update on the community? I'll say it again: community safety and well-being plan. None. Then I'd look at a motion that report be received. Moved by Mark, seconded by Paul. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Under new business, our annual performance review by our OPP inspector. Okay. Glenn, we had last year pretty much the report synthesized. Things got off the rails with regard, I think, probably the start of COVID, et cetera, okay? So you were not reviewed formally, although I have a documentation package from all members, lest one. of our police service board, that if your regional commander wants to see that, we could probably pull something together. But what I would like to do is do this one, you know, for 2020. I think even though it's an absolutely extraordinary year, and we are still waiting for the Police Services Act to change the form, we can still go through the process of, and Ellen knows the process as good as anyone, is everyone would get a form to fill out. It would come to me. I would synthesize everybody's comments into one single report. And then I think once that's acceptable, you know, members of the police service boards, usually Gary, myself, and anyone else, we can come and then talk to you. I think I think that should be an acceptable way to handle that. The only thing I asked Glenn is if we were remiss, I don't know if the other police services board got caught up in that from 2008, 2019, but we did. So, and we apologize for that. But we can certainly do 2020.
Yeah, so certainly no apologies needed whatsoever. And once again, I think the town of Tecumseh is kind of on the forefront and ahead of doing kind of what's asked. So I'll just leave it to your graces, whatever you would like. I haven't been asked for anything.
Yeah, okay, it's an obligation under the act. So and we didn't do that last year, but I think we've done it faithfully for as many years as I've been on the board. So so that being said, and I know Ellen is listening in, she can start sending the blank format around to everybody. And once we see it, I'll try to set a timeline as to when I'll receive individual comments, and a timeline for myself to formulate a draft and then for approval. And then we can, once that's done, Glenn, we can come and visit with you and talk about what we see going on in the bigger picture, and with regard to certainly the Essex detachment and your performance as its leader. Okay. I would like to also ask, is there any other new business? Seeing none, Glenn, I would like you to please give my contact information to the Caldwell Band leader and council, and I can have a little comment to see if they would like to sit in on one of our police service board meetings, and I can probably bring the council up to speed as to what we're obligated to do under the new Police Services Act and where we are with regard to having sent something to the Solicitor General with how we would like to constitute that amalgamated police service board, although it needs to be changed now if Leamington goes their separate ways and is not part of the Essex detachment. So if you would send that, I can certainly get the ball rolling on that. I don't think there's anybody would have an objection to us reaching out to the Caldwells. I think it's a good thing. And I think they need to be part of police services in Essex County for sure. So is there any other things that need to be done? Okay, then I note that our next meeting will be Thursday, April the 8th at 4:30. And look forward to seeing you then. And perhaps I'll be able to, perhaps we'll have a representation from the Caldwells to listen in. And if not, and maybe I can report to everybody as to where they are and how they see their participation. So I'd like to have a motion that there being no further business that we adjourn. I'm looking for a mover. Paul, and seconded by Mayor McNamara. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Stay